Oh, you're so sweet, I swear. Te mando un besito.
All right, we're on Disco Acid Cult TV. I think it's gonna just be me tonight. Johnny texted me a few minutes ago saying he's still on the road. I don't know where he's on the road to or from, but yeah, I think it should just be me. He said he doesn't think he's gonna make it. I told him if he does get in the door, he can pop in if he wants, but yeah, for the most part, it ought to just be me for tonight. What's up, Protomax? We were gonna do this episode for Wednesday, but obviously Wednesday, some other news happened that we thought would be better to talk about, so we kind of shoved this over to Sunday. So I'm pretty late in covering this stuff, but yeah, I might as well, because some of the stuff I like talking about. I guess before we get into anything, oh, you know what? I didn't even type in my captions for the topics. I'll do that while I'm talking. I just watched, I always talk about, or sometimes we'll talk about what I watched the night before. I watched Nukem High. It's a trauma movie. In the 80s, there's pretty much this subgenre of low budget movies, and the subgenre is basically high school kids go crazy and adults do nothing about it for whatever reason. And this is one of them. Basically, I mean, anyone that knows trauma movies knows about this movie. This movie and The Toxic Avenger are probably the two most popular trauma films. Trauma, obviously, being a low budget film company. But yeah, basically, high school kids. They build a nuclear plant less than a mile away from the high school, and the nuclear waste gets into the high school. Kids start going crazy. It's funny because it's the same as like The Toxic Avenger in the way that it's pretty well meant to be social commentary, like on environmentalism, and honestly kind of the nuclear thing. It really is kind of like, I don't want to say fear mongering, but I've heard multiple takes about nuclear energy and nuclear power. I actually just recently was exposed to, there's an idea that like nuclear bombs aren't real. Let me finish typing this in and then I'll pull up what I'm talking about. Yeah, so I saw this video. There's this he's usually a true crime YouTuber, and he uploaded a video just earlier this week, I think. Let me find his page. God, what is his name? It's like Eric. Something super simple like Eric. Oh god, of course I can't find this. And of course I'm not going to play the video on stream, but it is really good. If I could find the one that I'm talking about, I would. Yeah, so basically the theory is that nuclear energy is actually like more like probably the most efficient. The conspiracy theory basically goes into like uh if we did use nuclear energy, like everybody's electricity bill would shrink down to basically nothing. So that's part of the reason why they don't want you to know that it's very clean and very efficient. A lot of people will say that like there's all this, like some people will tell you The Simpsons has propaganda, like anti-nuclear propaganda, right? The way that Homer works at the nuclear plant and things like that. Basically, they've been telling us how dangerous and scary nuclear energy is for years now, but in reality, it's clean and efficient and the most powerful form of energy we can get. There's a guy who was going around. He used to work in like a nuclear department for the government or for the military, and he used to go around doing tours, and he would give basically speeches to people where he would like eat nuclear material. He would like to prove it to them, to prove it to the kids. He would eat nuclear material. And this guy lived to be like until his 80s, and he died of just like perfectly normal old age, natural causes. God, I wish I could find this fucking video that I saw. The nuclear bombs thing was basically, yeah, he said nuclear bombs aren't real. He said the bombings in Japan during World War II, what those actually were was just very intense carpet bombings, like hundreds and hundreds of bombs that they set off, and they told everybody that it's nuclear. He talked about, all that famous nuclear bomb test footage we have where you'll see like a grainy, like just area, like a wooded area, and they drop the bomb and it blows all the trees away. And they're like, what about the camera? Like, why is the camera fine? I think that got brought up on Joe Rogan recently too. Like, how does the camera survive nuclear bombs to get that test footage? Man, I swear to God, I need to find this fucking YouTuber's name just to like, okay, Eric Dubé. That's what it is, I think. Let me make sure this is the right guy. Yeah, Eric Dubé. Eric, ERIC, and then DUBAY. Yeah, and the video is just called Nuclear Bombs Don't Exist. And it's a really good video. It's only, and then get past this ad and I'll say how long it is. It's not even a long video. Yeah, 17 minutes. He just talks about the whole theory. It's super interesting. I just recently learned about it. So then it's funny that I found yeah, because that's usually the first question when you tell people the theory of nuclear bombs don't exist. They say, what happened in Japan then? They say, yeah, it was just a super intense bombing. They just bombed the fuck out of those two cities in Japan. Like I said, the video goes way better into it. Yeah, Eric Dubé, nuclear bombs don't exist. He just put it up 2 weeks ago. Super interesting. Um, okay, yeah, Galen Windsor. I guess I'll play a little clip of this really quick. Hopefully this guy doesn't come after me for playing some of his video, but I did shout him out as much as I possibly could. Galen Windsor is the guy who used to go around talking to people about how it's not that bad.
Electricity. One of the leading nuclear physicists in America, Galen Windsor, who was responsible for helping set up most of America's nuclear power plants, was a vocal whistleblower on this subject. He said nuclear power is really just the cleanest and most economical way to boil water, and that all nuclear power plants are essentially and practically,
yeah, so here he is in this video handling radioactive material,
just steam power plants. In his lecture tours he gave all across the country, Galen Windsor would talk about how he and other early nuclear physicists would regularly hold uranium, plutonium, and radioactive waste with their bare hands without any ill effects. He quipped about taking swims in the nuclear waste pools to prove they weren't hazardous, and when his colleagues refused to believe him, he began drinking a glass of water from the pools in front of them every day. In footage from his lectures, you can watch Galen open a tiny canister of radioactive material, supposedly dangerous enough to cause an EPA disaster area 1 mile in radius, contaminating everyone in the building. He holds it in his bare hands, runs a Geiger counter over it, which registers off the scale, licks all the radioactive material onto his tongue, tests it with the Geiger counter again, and swallows it. Galen Windsor did this demonstration for years, with no ill effects, and lived into his 80s. After trying to blow the whistle with his lecture tours, the government confiscated his nuclear material, sent the SWAT team to his house, and began harassing him legally. He was quoted saying, "There is no such thing as nuclear waste, only material created in a nuclear reactor to be recovered and used beneficially. High-level waste is radioactive and self-heating."
Yeah, that's basically that chunk of the video. The rest of it, like I said, super interesting. But yeah, the idea is just that realistically, it's just the most clean and efficient way. Like if we got into this, everybody would just get they say you just get a very small source of it and it would power your entire house forever. And you would never need to, pay fucking PG&E as much as people pay PG&E. And then people also say like the mushroom clouds, the famous site of a nuclear bomb, the mushroom cloud, really they say that could be done by just enough bombs. If you just have enough TNT or dynamite or any kind of bomb, you could create a mushroom cloud basically. Um yeah, I think that's part of it too. If it is true, that would be part of the reason they just say these things. But if there are no nuclear bombs, then I mean, shit, we've been using that as an excuse to go to war, like, ever since World War II, like, weapons of mass destruction, nuclear every country we talk about every country having nuclear bombs, that's why we gotta go attack them. So if it is true, if that is a true conspiracy theory, if there are no such thing as nuclear bombs, um, like, damn, we've been milking that for generations at this point. I don't know how I feel about it, but it is interesting. And I get so sidetracked. Yeah, I only brought that up because the whole point of the movie that I watched, Class of Nukem High, and the Toxic Avenger, they are basically, in a very comedic way, they are kind of anti-nuclear. I don't want to call them propaganda at all because they're literally just low budget horror comedy movies from the 80s. But yeah, they could be. I'm sure there's somebody out there who would argue that they are anti-nuclear propaganda. But either way, Class of Nukem High was a great movie. It was a cool movie. It was a fun little time. The weapons of mass destruction has never been true, though. Whether they're yeah, no, yeah, no. That's obviously the reason we went into the Middle East, was just for oil, and I think to do a little bit of the dirty work for a certain other country that you know people aren't usually allowed to talk about. But anyways, yeah, Class of Nukem High. I don't know what I'm gonna watch tonight. I'll find something to watch tonight. I'm sure it'll be from the 80s again. I've been on this 80s movies kick for a very long time. Everything I've been watching has been from the 80s. But okay, the main point. Man, I'm already learning how hard it was. I forgot how hard it was to do solo streams. That was the whole reason I found Johnny, was to quit doing solo streams. Here I am doing a solo stream again. Man, I kind of hate having the caption because it covers up the Disco Acid Cult TV on the bottom. I need to make a whole new background. I need to make new intro videos. I've been saying I'm going to do that for so long. All that Gilgamesh shit. No, I haven't. I am, whatever it is, I'm down to check that out. Anything with the word Gilgamesh in it, I'm probably down to check out. But yeah, I've been saying that I'm going to make a new intro, a new outro. Now I need to make more since tomorrow's stream. I need to make one for tomorrow, for Monday night streams. I've been wanting to make a new background for a while anyways. Honestly, I would like to do kind of a more 80s themed one. The current background, the Soul Train, is total 70s. But now that I see Disco Acid Cult TV on the bottom is covered up by this little caption bar that I like doing, by the way. I like having this bar just because anybody that just is chiming in, they can see what we're talking about. Yeah, I gotta find a way to put the words Disco Acid Cult TV somewhere else on the screen so it's not covered up by the caption at the bottom. All right, well, let's pull this one up really quick. The first bit of business I was going to talk about, just because I seem to enjoy talking shit about this guy as often as I can. MTV had the VMAs. Before I even get into Yungblud, how irrelevant, like how much more irrelevant can the MTV VMAs get? Protomax, send me a link. I don't know, is there like a video or something? Send me a link, because I'm sure if I just look up Gilgamesh, I'm sure a lot of stuff is going to come up. Okay, yeah, I'm always down for Hillary Clinton email stuff. Those emails, I've only heard like little bits of what was in there, just like here and there, and it seems like a wide array of topics. But yeah, Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah, that's what I was saying. Before I even get into Yungblud, just the VMAs. Anyways, I'm surprised MTV even still does the VMAs. I don't even know why they're, the Video Music Awards. It's basically the award show for music videos. I don't want to say music videos are damn near obsolete nowadays. Obviously, they pull in millions of views on YouTube. People are still watching music videos, but they're not what they used to be at all. They're not what they used to be. They're not needed. Back in the 80s and 90s, a music video was kind of necessary. Everybody talked about how if you wanted to get anywhere in the music business, you needed a music video. You needed to get play on MTV. Yeah, it's very strange. I don't know why they still do it. I honestly don't even know why they're still called MTV. I mean, it literally stands for music television. To me, it kind of reeks of they're just afraid to lose their brand. The same thing as like when Brendan Urie went solo as Panic at the Disco, and everybody's like, why don't you just go by Brendan Urie? It's like, well, because he still wants the drawing power of the name Panic at the Disco. He doesn't want to lose that. That's the funny thing. No, it's not just which music videos get more views on YouTube. It really comes off nowadays as, I've heard somebody describe it as basically the office Christmas party of the music industry. Like nobody wants to go to it, nobody cares, but they go. It's also kind of turned into like a big virtue signal fest, and it's also turned into a giant pat yourself on the back party. Like it's just the industry getting together and being like, yeah, let's just give ourselves awards because we're so great and we care about Palestine and transgender rights is basically what it's turned into. I don't know who votes for the VMAs. I don't remember if it was a fan thing. Let me look that up. Who votes for okay, yeah, viewers vote in general categories for the MTV Video Music Awards on the official MTV website and social media. Okay, see, while a panel of music industry professionals decides the winners for technical categories. So let's be real, MTV decides the winners. I mean, that literally you Google this, and it says viewers vote in general, and then goes on to say, while a panel of music industry professionals, fans who must be at least 13 years old and not employees of MTV's parent company submit their votes during a designated voting period. Okay, so they let you vote, so you feel good about yourself, so you feel cool. They let you vote, but it literally says a panel of music industry professionals, right? So that's who's deciding the votes of the VMAs. Yeah, I don't know why they still do it. Just move on. Move on. You don't need to keep patting all the celebrities on the backs. They all know how great they are. That's kind of what it seems like now. It's just a big office Christmas party for celebrities, basically. Like the Oscars makes sense. Obviously, movies are still a thing, barely, but they still are. But yeah, music videos are not really what they used to be, you know. Like I said, still millions of views on YouTube, but what does that mean? There are a lot of people that get millions of views on YouTube. So yeah, I don't know why they still do it. It feels more and more relevant every year. I don't think nobody watches the whole thing. People just see clips and highlights on the internet, which that's how I consume it nowadays. I would never sit down and watch an entire. I would never sit down and watch an entire MTV VMAs award show nowadays, but they still do it. Like I said, to me, it just reads as they don't want to lose their brand. They don't want to not be MTV anymore. I mean, they might as well change their name. They might as well change their name to Catfish TV. I'm pretty sure MTV just plays Catfish all day long now. But they had the VMAs recently, and my favorite part, of course, was the new coolest guy in the world. Obviously, the coolest guy in the world. I don't even want to hear that shit. I don't even want to hear these fucking people being like, "Oh, Yungblud, turn and face me." That, to me, this is the funniest part. How you watch him get into position for the pose, like he's just standing there. Who knows if he had this planned out beforehand or if this was just like a spur of the moment thing. I'm gonna take my shirt off. This guy's got the body. First of all, this guy has the body of a cashew. Like, this guy has the posture of a cashew. It's not like, it doesn't look like he's in shape. It just looks like he's skinny, which, I mean, is how I look. But it's not like, this is like, fine, take your shirt off on stage when you're playing music, but on the red carpet, everybody points out he looks like he's trying to do the Jim Morrison thing. He definitely looks like he's trying to do the Jim Morrison pose. I just don't think it gets any more cringe than this guy. Dirty White Boy pointed out that he looks like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. He looks like he's doing the dick and balls tuck. He does look like Buffalo Bill. It's just way too try hard. It's way too try hard. The overall state of music today, this is way too try hard, and I don't like this push. There's been a very deliberate push. Everybody in the music industry and everybody on TikTok and everybody on MTV and everybody in TMZ and Pop Base, they've all been telling everybody like, hey, this is the new guy for rock and roll. This is the new rock guy. And it makes me think about Guns N' Roses. The story of Guns N' Roses back in the 80s, they made their music video for Welcome to the Jungle and they submitted it to be played on MTV. And there's like a famous quote from the head of MTV at the time who replied to Guns N' Roses management and said, no, we're not going to play this. He called it something like gutter junky music. We're not going to play this junky gutter music on our channel. We have standards to uphold. Tom Zutaut basically begged MTV, please play Welcome to the Jungle. Please play this video. So MTV played it one time on like a Tuesday at 2 a.m. And the story goes that they played it that one time at like 2 a.m. And after they played it, their phones, the MTV got so many calls back when you could call TV stations to make requests. They got so many calls that the phone board blew up. Like, the phone board set on fire. I don't remember that somebody explained the science of how those phone boards used to work, but they got so many calls that it got too hot and it caught on fire. And thus, rock stars were born. So that's kind of what I always think about when I see these people really pushing Yungblud as the next guy for rock and roll. If TikTok has to tell you that this guy is the next head of rock and roll, if Pop Base and TMZ have to tell you that this is the guy who's going to carry the torch for rock and roll, he's probably not the guy who's going to carry the torch for rock and roll. If the machine is telling you what rock and roll is, you can be very positive that that is not rock and roll. That's not really how it works. Rock and roll is decided by the people. Rock and roll is decided by the underdog also. That is one thing. It is decided by the underdog. It is not decided by the industry. The industry does not tell you what rock and roll is or who the next rock star is. And basically, ever since Ozzy died, it's just been a nonstop barrage of, hey, look, this is the guy. This is rock and roll. Yeah, he really isn't that charismatic either. He really is a goober. He really is just kind of a goofball, which is also fine if he wants to be a goofball. But he's just a very generic, I could scroll through TikTok and find a guy with the charisma of Yungblud in 5 minutes, maybe less, probably less. So I just can't stand this guy. I just really can't stand this guy. Now, I will say, I will never take away from him. He is a really good singer. Like, in terms of just his voice, just raw singing. He is a really good singer. I do like his voice a lot. He has a very good rasp, a really good raspy voice. Great singer. I don't like his writing at all. He has one song in particular that I like. He is featured in another song that I like. And again, like I said, I like his voice. Great voice. I don't like what he writes. And also, again, as far as him being the next guy for rock and roll, he's a very generic pop star. Like, his music is very generic, kind of like edgy pop. It is very like cookie cutter, gumball, vanilla, pop rock music, whatever it is, nothing new, right? Even aside from rock and roll, it's nothing new. It's nothing groundbreaking. There are no wheels being reinvented. So yeah, I don't understand. Oh yeah, no, talent is definitely the least important part of the formula, especially nowadays. You know, I think talent was always never 100%. It always had a lot to do with a lot of other stuff, but nowadays more than ever, talent is um completely unimportant. There was I can't remember who it was. I was just scrolling on Instagram earlier today, and there was some rapper, and he was doing like some kind of like an acoustic set, not an acoustic set, but he was doing like a live performance where he had drums and a guitar player. And the guitar player was doing this little transition between two songs where like he was playing a little part at the end of the song and then it transitioned into the next song. And the caption was like, remember that time this rapper's guitarist did like the greatest transition of all time? And all the comments were like, bro, have you ever heard of a rock band? Like, what are you talking about? Like, people have been transitioning between songs live all the time. And somebody commented and said, wow, this world today is so deprived of talented music. And it's the live musicians. If you're talking about the VMA performance with Yungblud and and God, of course I can't remember the singer of fucking Steven Tyler. If you're talking about their performance, yeah, no, their performance was great. Again, Liberty Twitcher, I don't know when you checked in. I was just saying Yungblud has a great voice. He has a great singing voice. I won't take that away from him. I like his voice a lot. I think he's got a great raspy voice, like I was saying. He is a great singer. I'm mostly just talking about the state of him being the next guy for rock and roll. What I was saying was the push on, the push from the industry to tell everybody that this is the next rock star, to me, automatically disqualifies him from being the next rock star. If TMZ and everybody on TikTok and Pop Crave and Pop Bass, if they all have to tell you that this is the next rock and roll guy, I don't think he's the next rock and roll guy. Nobody told anybody. I told the story about Guns N' Roses getting denied for airplay on MTV for however long that was until they finally reluctantly played Welcome to the Jungle, and the people demanded to see it again. It's the people that decide these things. It's not the industry itself, and the industry has been very deliberately pushing this guy onto everybody as the next rock and roll guy. And to me, that's, like I said, that already disqualifies him. If the industry has to tell you that this guy is rock and roll, I don't really think he's rock and roll. The industry doesn't know what rock and roll is. I mean, go look at the Grammys. Like, look at the state of the Grammys for the last however many years. Tell me they know anything about rock and roll. Really nice guy when he played a festival. I worked his team, came in, he was very Hollywood, though, ruined the vibe backstage. I'm sure he is totally nice. Like I said, I describe him as a goober, right? I'm sure he's perfectly fine. If I met him in person, I'm sure he's a total goofball. Like, it'd be fine. I'd hang around with him for a few minutes. Yeah, I could see him being very Hollywood. I mean, they're treating him like he's Hollywood as fuck nowadays, that's for sure. Yeah, there is plenty of good, newer stuff out there. It's just hard to find. It's the Led Zeppelin fakers. Are you now talking about? Because now there's two. There's that band Jailer, who, by the way, I hate that name. I don't know what kind of band name Jailer is, but there is a band called Jailer that I've been seeing going around, and literally, it's like Led Zeppelin cosplay. It's or there's Greta Van Fleet. They were the original Led Zeppelin cosplayers. I think in those cases, I think those kids are just young and they don't understand that you're supposed to take influence from things, not just completely copy things. I would hope that when they get older, they'll realize, okay, yeah, Greta Van Fleet. There's another one called Jailer, a Liberty Twitcher. You should look at literally like the name Taylor, but with a J instead of a T. You should look them up and just get a kick out of. I mean, they're literally wearing the Led Zeppelin at Madison Square Garden outfits. Like, the singer is wearing the blue button-up shirt. Unheard of. Okay, you've heard of it. Yeah, I would imagine those kids are just young. they don't understand the concept of, taking influence. Hopefully they're just going through a phase and they just want to get the let out for a little bit. I hope that's what's going on with them, and they don't just think they're gonna, be Led Zeppelin forever, because that's not gonna work out very well. Massive Wagons. I'll have to check that out. Oh, they're not from the States. Where are they from? Oh yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'll check that out for sure. Yeah, there's just not a lot of it's hard to find this stuff now. The internet is so big. It's all so divided too. Like there's no, I talk about this all the time. There's no one place to find music now. It used to just be you turn on the radio, there's music. You turn on the TV and there's music. Now it's like I've got to go surfing through millions of TikTok pages or Instagram pages. There are two bands I've discovered recently that I like. They're very young. There's this band called After, which is a terrible band name. Like after, like as if you're saying like after the something. But they are very early 2000s. Like that is one thing I noticed with a lot of these new bands nowadays. None of them are really doing anything new. They're all very nostalgia driven. Yeah, you have to wade through a lot. A lot of the bands that I find now that I like, they're all very nostalgia driven. There's this one band called, oh god, let me look it up. I can't remember their name, of course. I posted them on the Instagram actually. Willow Wake. It's WILLOWAKE. And they're just kids from LA. They look like teenagers. I like them a lot, but they are really doing like the kind of early 2000s kind of emo thing, like 2-chord rock songs, 2-chord kind of progressive. I like it a lot, but yeah, it's nothing new. No one's really doing anything new. How could it not be? Yeah, that is true. There's got to be something else that could be done though. I don't know. I think people just don't take influence from enough sources yet, or nowadays. Everybody only takes influence from what they like. So you can pretty much tell when you find a new band, you can pretty much tell what their favorite bands are because they sound exactly like them. Whereas, my thing would be like, dude, go listen to I don't know, I would listen to like Charlie XCX and try to write her music as rock songs. That's how I always did it. You take songs from other genres and then try to write them into rock songs is how I always did it. And to me, that was always how I got songs that I thought were decent. Or even music from other countries. I used to rip off Japanese bands a lot, even though they were like Japanese pop rock bands, but still ripping them off was enough to come up with something that didn't just sound exactly like my favorite music. Most of the people, me and Johnny talked about this, most of the people in bands that play a certain type of music, they don't usually listen to what they play. Like Dance Gavin Dance, Will Swan, who's like their primary songwriter, he's talked about in an interview before. He's like, dude, I don't listen to I can't click on links on this thing. If the video you sent me, if the band sounds like Hillary Duff, like it's like acoustic, it sounds like Michelle Branch, that's After. If that's the song you sent. If it makes you think of Michelle Branch, or like that early 2000s acoustic girl singers, like easy listening for young adults, yes, that's After. Yeah, I love that shit. I love that shit. If it sounds like it's being played over a montage of Lizzie McGuire thinking about the summer she just had, yes, that is After. Jailer's EPK literally lists their music as a love letter to Led Zeppelin. Yeah, like, oh, cool. Oh, I'm glad they told us, because I never would have known that their music was a love letter to Led Zeppelin. How would we have figured that out if they didn't tell us? Yeah, in the case of Jailer, I bet it's got to just be because they're young, right? You're young, you discover something, you get real excited about it, you want to do just that. Even I think that's also just like a phase in artists' life. Even Rob Zombie's first movie, which is my favorite Rob Zombie movie, House of a Thousand Corpses, is literally just Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but with the Rob Zombie coat of paint over it. But that was his first movie, right? I think everybody kind of has to get that out of their system. Like you get in the garage with your boys for the first time. What's the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna play a cover of a song that you guys all really like. So I think Jailer is probably just going through that phase right now. Hopefully, hopefully, because yeah, the comments on their posts. I don't follow them, but I see their stuff on TikTok once in a while. Right on, Protomax. Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow. The comments are brutal when you see Jailer stuff on TikTok. The comments are brutal, calling them out for the Led Zeppelin ripoff. So they have to know, like they have to be aware that people are on to them. People know they're just basically a Led Zeppelin cover band. But like I said, hopefully it's a phase. Hopefully they grow out of it. There's a band from the UK called Pale Waves. Like if ocean waves were pale. And I used to like them a lot. I think it's their first album, was really good. Almost kind of new wave. A lot of chorus effect on the guitars. But they fell off, in my opinion. Yeah, Pale Waves. Their first album was great. And then their second album was not as good, but it had a couple songs on it that I liked a lot. But that would be an example of a newer band that I was into. One of my favorite modern day bands I always point out is a band called Static Dress. Not a big fan of the name, like your girlfriend's dress got all staticky coming out of the dryer, I guess. But yeah, Static Dress. They're also from the UK. I guess England is killing it right now with music. They are also very nostalgic. They kind of sound like Dead Poetic. A little bit like From First to Last, kind of 2000s emo again. But they're really good. I like Static Dress a lot. They've got some songs. One of their albums actually is I think a perfect album. It's called Rouge Carpet Disaster. I think that's how you pronounce it. The word Rouge. I don't know. I always say Rouge. I don't know if it's Rouge or Rouge, whatever. Yeah, Static Dress. Anyone interested in checking that out? That would be my biggest recommendation from this, if I'm going to give a music recommendation. They've got songs. The whole album is perfect. It starts off the song Flea House. It's a banger. Their next song is called Sweet. It's a banger. They've got a song called Dissenter. That's spelled kind of funny. That song's a total banger. They have a song called Such a Shame. That's a slower song, but still a banger. They have a song called, oh God. It's a song that's called Unexplainable Titles, Leaving You Wondering Why, but it's all as one word. So it's just one long word, but that's a pure banger. Yeah, there you go, Dissenter. That's a great track. The song the song that is all one word, that is called Unexplainable Titles, Leaving You Wondering Why. That song, when I say banger, I mean an actual banger. So when I was younger, when I was in my last band that I was ever in like 2012 through 2014, the term banger to us back then, what it meant was a song that is short and sweet. So like a 1 minute to 2 minute song that is just straight to the point. It just drives hard the whole time, the whole 2 minutes. That's what a banger used to be. I think nowadays it kind of just means any song that's good. But yeah, that track in particular is like an actual technical banger. It is 2 minutes and 27 seconds, and it never lets up the whole time. It's like a horror movie that starts from the first scene and just never lets up. Just total banger the whole time. But yeah, no, there's a lot of good stuff out there. You don't have to listen to Yungblud and think that this is the guy who's going to be the next rock and roll guy. Like, I think in terms of like classical rock and roll, like when I talk about rock and roll, I'm talking like Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue. I'm talking Led Zeppelin. I'm talking post-acid Beatles. I'm talking what's her name? I can't remember names on stream. I can never remember names on stream. God, and this is like the worst name to forget too. Who's the fucking chick? Who's the fucking chick from the 60s that died? Man, I really can't believe I have to look up this girl's name. I'm serious. I'm going to say this name and you guys are going to be so ashamed of me. Janet. Okay, yeah, there you go. Janis Joplin. Jesus Christ. Dude, I will forget my mom's name on stream, which is crazy because I'm normally a dude. I'm like obsessive when it comes to names and titles. I know every album I like. I know all the track names. I know all the members of every band. But as soon as I get on stream, as soon as I turn on the microphone, names are just out. But yeah, of course, when I'm talking rock and roll, I'm usually talking stuff like that, those people. But in terms of today, to me, rock and roll, that style of it is just a dead genre, right? So when I say like you don't have to look at Yungblud as like the face of rock and roll today, as of right now, maybe it's not dead, maybe it's just dormant. It's just lying dormant. There is no face of rock and roll, but there still is good new music to listen to. There's good rock music. My co-host Johnny actually put it, I think, the best way I've heard it, where he said, rock and roll is dead, but rock music is not dead. There's still plenty of good rock music or alternative rock music or this kind of rock music or whatever. But basically, point being, you don't have to listen to the industry and believe that Yungblud is the guy who's doing it. You don't have to listen to TMZ and Pop Crave and they're all trying to force Yungblud on everybody. I don't know why. It's like, dude, there's plenty of other people out there that you guys could push. It's kind of the same thing Hollywood is doing. Hollywood wants to keep doing all these remakes and they keep trying to tell you want superhero movies and sequels and remakes. And it's like, dude, you guys could just go find, there's like a million, starving artists out there. Hollywood also is like very cheap nowadays. They really don't want to spend money on stuff. So it makes no sense to me. It's like, you guys could go find a million starving artists, give them all $1 million tops, and they could make you a shit ton of really good movies. But instead, you keep forcing all this weird shit on people that they don't want. All these remakes and sequels and rehashes and superhero movies. And same thing with music. Like, you guys don't have to keep putting money into Yungblud and pushing Yungblud on people. You guys could literally go find bands like Static Dress or After or Willow Wake or Massive Wagons, like you mentioned. Go sign these bands. Give them not a lot of money, because most artists don't need a lot of money nowadays because they thrive on having no money because nobody has money. And you can start selling music again. But instead, they're all just focused on Yungblud. Yungblud is the guy. And Yungblud's out here doing shit like this on the red carpet thinking he's cool. Yeah, it just seems too manufactured. It's already not rock and roll. Like, once the industry gets behind something, I don't want to say entirely once the industry gets behind it, it's not rock and roll, but generally that's a good sign that something is not rock and roll. If the entire machine is telling you this is rock and roll, you can pretty much go, okay, that's not, like, thanks for telling me that. One thing I did think was interesting, only because we talked about this, this is kind of off topic as far as the MTV thing, but Vince Neil had that medical emergency they talked about for a little bit, and it was a stroke. Vince Neil had a stroke, which I think is actually kind of scary business. There was a clip. I thought it was a stroke because there was a clip that came out a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. It was like right after Vince came back from the medical emergency that he had. And not only did he sound, he doesn't sound great nowadays, but he looked really bad. Like, he looked like he was struggling to walk. It looked like he was really off. There was something about him physically that like you couldn't really put your finger on. And I was like, oh, he had some kind of like a stroke or a heart attack or something. Like, that's what happened to him. And yeah, sure enough, they just announced recently that the reason they pushed back their Vegas residency, which I guess they're now in the middle of, yeah, the reason for that was that he had a stroke. But all right, what else was I gonna pull up? More MTV VMAs. I was gonna pull up the Sabrina Carpenter thing, just for a quick second. There's not much to say about it. Sabrina Carpenter performed. But somebody got this picture, or I guess not picture, but somebody got this still of her performance and pointed out she was doing the Britney Spears thing, right? She was obviously doing the Britney Spears in 2001. Yeah, actually, pretty much exact same outfit. The rain came down. But in Sabrina Carpenter's case, she did it with all of these dancers around her. They were all like drag queens and transgender activists, and they all were holding up signs that were like pro transgender rights and everything, which is fine. But somebody pointed out kind of the concept of how she's channeling the early 2000s Britney Spears thing. Like she kind of wants the best of both worlds. She wants that 2001 pop star energy, but she's not willing to take on like the values that we had back in 2001 that kind of made this music world possible. And I guess when I say values, I could be saying lack of values. How like back in 2001 we were just a lot more insensitive about things. I think the early 2000s were like the height of like peak like balance, I guess. Like I don't know how am I trying to say. We're way too sensitive nowadays. I talk about that all the time too. Again, I guess back to rock and roll. Like, of course, rock and roll, in the way that we know it is dead because we're way too sensitive for like real rock and roll characters. It would just be impossible to have to have like a modern day Motley Crue running around doing stuff that Motley Crue was doing in the 80s. It just wouldn't happen. It couldn't happen. I mean, they'd be shut down after like a week. People wouldn't be able to handle the stories they'd be hearing. But yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting way to put it. She's kind of trying to do 2001 Britney Spears, but with like basically 2025 surrounding her in person. I do love Sabrina Carpenter though. I am a big Sabrina Carpenter fan. I have only recently stopped using what was my old backdrop. Yeah, the Sabrina Carpenter Eiffel Tower backdrop. Basically, in my opinion, this is the greatest piece of art known to mankind. Sabrina Carpenter getting Eiffel Towered by two dudes. Except the two dudes were kind of goofy, because I'm pretty sure most guys know that if you are Eiffel Towering a girl, you don't actually like high five your buddy. You don't actually do that. Usually, you don't touch your buddy when you're doing an Eiffel Tower. But anyways, I am a big Sabrina Carpenter fan. It's funny in today's world, instead of even really trying to search out rock music, I just kind of just give in and listen to pop music that I like. I'm generally, well, not generally fine with pop music today, but like I always talk about, I love Sabrina Carpenter. I do love Taylor Swift. I love Charlie XCX. I love that stuff. A lot of it is crap. I hate Chapel Roan. I don't know. Maybe I don't hate Chapel Roan. I hate the way that Chapel Roan is being pushed on everybody. Oh, you saw Sabrina Carpenter at Lollapalooza? I'm actually pretty jealous of that. I think she's a good I think she's a cool pop star. She had some interview recently. I think I don't know. I think she's kind of in a weird place because I think Sabrina Carpenter, I think she's kind of just like a vapid pop star. Like that's what she's supposed to be. And I think she knows that. But she kind of gets forced into this like feminist activist, right? So when she put out that new album cover for Man's Best Friend, the album cover of her on her hands and knees with a guy pulling her hair, I don't think she was saying anything. I think they just thought, hey, she's a hot chick on her hands and knees. This will sell. Like basically just a genuine or a generic like sex sells pop star album cover. Right, but then she released that album cover and feminist Twitter blew up and is like trying to justify like, no, this is actually feminist or it's not feminist enough. And it's like, dude, Sabrina Carpenter, I don't think has ever really come out and said like anything hardcore feminist, but the audience kind of forces her into this role. So there was some interview she did recently where she was seemingly trying to justify that album cover, where she's, I don't know, says some goofy shit like, oh yeah, I'm actually in control in that album cover, even though I'm like the submissive one. And And I just, if I guess if I was like her like manager, or like was the guy that was giving her advice, I would just say, just don't talk about this shit. Like just go out and be a pop star that sings and dances, because everybody likes that. Like that's that, I think that's kind of what the world needs nowadays. We just need more like just generic singing and dancing pop stars that just, make you feel good. You're having a bad day, you just want to listen to some fucking generic pop music that kind of makes you bob your head up and down in the car a little bit. It doesn't need to be like this powerful feminist image or this powerful feminism message just because it's a girl singer. It can just be a generic fucking pop song. And so I don't know why she feels the need to let herself get kind of pushed into that position. Yeah, in interviews following her album, Man's Best Friend, Sabrina Carpenter explained that the album cover image was a metaphor for control and a young woman's navigation of power dynamics and heartbreak. She described the vision for the cover as clear to her, expressing that the internet's negative reaction was fascinating and that she wasn't anticipating specific reactions when she created it. Carpenter stated the album is a reflection of her own experience with loss, heartbreak, and navigating. Okay, yeah. So she says the album cover was a metaphor for control and a young woman's navigation of power dynamics. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think they got to the photo shoot and they just said, "What's some shit we can do?" And they just said, "Get on your hands and knees." Like it's a generic sex sells album cover. But nowadays everything has to be so, oh, there has to be some kind of feminist message in it. And I think the audience kind of forced her into that, when in reality, I don't think there was anything. I think she just got into a fucking pose. They were like, yeah, this shit's, she looks good. I've seen some clips of her live shows, and they do look pretty extravagant. I will say I do wish more pop stars would do, and I know pop music, it's a very choreographed genre. Like, her show has all the backup dancers and all of the this and that. I do sometimes wish that somebody would do, like, I would really like to see Sabrina Carpenter play a show where it's literally just her and a band. You just have her with the mic stand, guitarist, bassist, keyboard player, and a drummer, and don't choreograph it. Like, just let her dance naturally as she feels, or if she wants to just stand at the mic, kind of just like how rock bands do their show. I would really like to see a pop singer do that. Just basically play a show as if you're in a rock band. Don't choreograph it. Let the dancing come naturally. I guess like Paramore, basically put Sabrina Carpenter in the place of Hayley Williams and let her play her shows that way. Like I said, I know that's not how it is. I know pop music is a very choreographed genre. There's going to be a whole show to go along with it. But I do wish we'd get a pop star that would do that sometimes. But no, I have seen clips. Her shows do look pretty cool. But I've liked her really ever since Espresso came out. That was the track that when I found that I was like, oh, this is actually really good. Again, just a really good generic vanilla pop song. And I wish people would stop forcing her into these like feminist roles. Like there is no there is no feminism on that album cover. There's just not. I don't buy that. I don't believe that she got to the photo shoot and they were like talking about, metaphor messages and philosophy. I don't think it's that deep. I don't think it's that deep. Everything has to be deep nowadays. Everybody wants everything to be so deep nowadays. You know, like an album cover with a pop star on her hands and knees with a guy pulling her hair. There has to be some kind of deep message. It's like, no, there's not. It's just a fucking hot chick on her hands and knees because it's generic pop music sung by a hot chick. Like, let that be what it is. Because that alone is cool. Like that's perfectly fine. That's what people want when they're having a bad day and they want to put on some fucking Sabrina Carpenter, or when they're having a good day and they want to put on some fucking Sabrina Carpenter. There's no feminist message behind that's that me espresso. It just is a catchy thing, and that's all it needs to be. But yeah, I think she lets herself get pushed into these kind of scenarios. Because I don't believe she's that deep. I don't believe these pop stars are that deep. I think some of them want to be deep. I think Chappell Roan wants to be deep. Maybe she's deeper than the next one. But when it comes to your Charlie XCX or your Sabrina Carpenter, I don't think they're that deep. And that's totally fine. I mean, look what happened to Madonna. Madonna tried to get way too deep, and seems to have lost her shit nowadays. So, yeah, I do wish we could go back to just having generic, vanilla pop stars that didn't have to turn everything into a metaphor for control and a young woman's navigation of power dynamics. Like, no, dude, it's just a cool album cover. That's all it is. You're just in a pose that will sell because you look good. It doesn't need to be anymore. That's something I like old movies. There's especially in the 70s and 80s. I like a lot of grindhouse movies, like a lot of I love the Great Texas Dynamite Chase from the 70s, Claudia Jennings movies with Linnea Quigley, who's on the poster behind me. When those movies were being made, Roger Corman, specifically a famous low budget film producer, he would have people writing scripts. He'd be producing a movie and somebody would write a script, and Roger Corman would get a hold of the script and he would write notes in the script, and he would literally just say, this needs more nudity. This needs more tits. This movie needs more tits in it. We need more naked girls in it. And, the question was, well, why? Well, because we need to sell tickets. And I like these old movies because it's just simple. They're just simple and they're just honest. And they're just like, yeah, we got nudity in this movie because we need to make money. We spent some money on this movie. We got to make some money back. So we put some fucking tits in the movie because people like to see tits and they'll spend money to see tits. Nowadays, if there's tits in a movie, it comes along with some artistic reasoning. There's got to be some metaphor. It's got to be a message about vulnerability or something to do with which is fine. Like, again, I love artsy fartsy stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and place for it though. But I really just love honesty and like simplicity about things. And it's, again, the Sabrina Carpenter album cover. It's like, dude, it's a pretty girl on her fucking hands and knees. It's like, to be completely crass about it, but also simple and honest about it. It's just a generic sex sells thing. It doesn't need to be some fucking powerful message about control and feminism and vulnerability and power dynamics. And, I don't buy into all that all the time, especially when it comes to Sabrina Carpenter. Like, listen to her music and tell me she's that deep. She's really not. Sabrina Carpenter's music can all be summed up by, I hate men, but I also want to have sex with them. I mean, that is literally almost all of her songs. It's men are retarded, but I want to have sex with them. Oh no, what do I do? This is my dilemma. And that's totally fine. Again, it's a totally fine, perfectly generic little trope to sing about in pop songs. But you can't convince me that her songs are that simple and that vapid. But her album cover is deep and metaphorical and artistic, and I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't think she's any kind of fucking Socrates. I don't think she's any kind of Plato. And again, she doesn't fucking need to be. Like, it's totally fine. But in the world we live in, nobody wants to accept that the movie just needs tits to sell tickets. It needs to have some reasoning and some metaphor. And yeah, we're pretty much already there as far as like most vile and morally illegal things becoming the norm. I think we're pretty much already there. I mean, how much more could things get? On the topic of like nudity, right? I guess since that's kind of what I've been going on lately. Like where else could we go? Like, there are fully naked people on Instagram. Like, I scroll through Instagram and I see ads for OnlyFans girls, and there will be a shot of them fully naked. It'll be like from behind, but at the end of the day, there's a fully naked chick on my Instagram homepage every time I scroll through it. Like what else could we, like, at this point, I think Candace Owens says stuff like this. She's like, at this point, if you're a pop star, if you're like a female singer, the most shocking thing you could do is like wear a dress, like wear a Sunday dress that goes down to your ankles. Like at this point, the most shocking thing you could do as a female pop singer is to like be fully clothed every time you perform, you know? And at the same time, it's almost that way for even like male performers, I guess. Like at this point, the most like shocking thing you could do is just be like a wholesome, not that I love wholesome characters and whatnot, but oh god, yeah. Yeah. The CP thing, I could see us getting there. That would be there'll be a catch though. It'll be like it's acceptable for girls. There's already kind of this double standard nowadays where when a girl is an OnlyFans model or a star or a seller or a vendor, whatever you want to call her, it's like go you, it's all girl power. She owns her own business, she makes her own money. But then guys who subscribe to OnlyFans are total losers and simps and nerds, and you don't talk to them. Which, by the way, I agree with. Guys should not be subscribing to OnlyFans. But it's funny how there's that kind of double standard. Like, why is it cool that the girl is uploading to OnlyFans, but then when the guy pays for it, it's, well, fuck him. He's a simp. He's a nerd. It's without him, the girl has no living. She has no job. Like, there's no point of what she's doing. There is no girl power in what she's doing if the guy's not buying it. So when it comes to CP in the context of what you're talking about, yeah, I could see us getting there in the sense that, like, you have maybe a 16-year-old girl and she wants to post provocative pictures. People will say, yeah, she has the right to express herself and she has the freedom, yeah, right on, go you, express yourself and be vulnerable if you want to. But then when guys will like it, people will come down on them, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, right? Guys should not like that. But again, in the context of what you're saying, yeah, I could see that. SA, we're already kind of there. Look at like the smut genre of books is like huge with girls nowadays. People say men watch pornography and girls read their pornography. In all those books about girls like having sex with monsters and shit, you know what I'm talking about? Like basically all the books that were inspired by Twilight nowadays. But now we're on like books that are like a mix of Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. We're pretty much already there as far as SA, I would say. Girls love those fucking books about like a werewolf kind of forcing sex on a woman, like those are the books these girls are reading nowadays, which I guess kind of crosses into bestiality. Girls are already reading books about, fucking werewolves and vampires. What's the difference between a werewolf and a dog? I guess just the werewolf can stand up. So, yeah, maybe we are pretty close to that, if not already almost there. Oh man, yeah. That's a pretty crazy world. You know what? I'm gonna save this topic, actually. I'm gonna scrap this one. I feel bad. I was gonna talk about AJ Lee return to WWE. I have it in the thumbnail, I have it in the title, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna talk about it tomorrow. I'll save it for I have another co-host coming on tomorrow. I'm probably gonna get off of here soon, actually, anyways, just because I'm by myself. Anyone who is still there, everything, everywhere, everybody is the only one who's been in chat. Anyone who's still there, I'm gonna be on tomorrow for the first time, a Monday stream. Tomorrow, I guess it's kind of gonna be like the nerd stream. I have Protomax actually from chat. Everybody who's here in chat knows Protomax. He's always the first one here. He's gonna come on stream. We're gonna start doing a weekly episodic review of Dragon Ball GT. Any Dragon Ball fans out there? Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball GT gets a lot of hate on the internet, so we're gonna do kind of a defense. We love Dragon Ball GT. So tomorrow we'll be doing episode 1. I have to watch episode 1. I'm gonna watch it tomorrow actually, and then we'll get on. We'll talk about it. We're gonna talk about Final Fantasy 15, how we think that's a very underrated game. Maybe just get a little bit into the Final Fantasy franchise in general, so some video game stuff. And we were going to talk about WWE and how TKO is kind of running WWE. But since I was going to bring up AJ Lee tonight, I'm just going to save that for tomorrow. So we'll just kind of do a whole block about Vince McMahon, TKO, WWE. They just recently announced that they're going to do WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia, which is fucking crazy. I think we were going to talk about Hall & Oates too. I don't know. That was Protomax's idea to bring up Hall & Oates. He said he's been into Hall & Oates recently, which I'm fine with. I love 80s Hall & Oates. That's really all I know about Hall & Oates, is that I like some of their songs from the 80s. So I'm interested to see what he has to say about it. But yeah, that should be a recurring Monday. We'll be on Mondays at 6 p.m. And yeah, like I said, Mondays will be more so like the nerd live stream. Yeah, no, it's always good to have you here, man, definitely. I'm glad you've been back around. I know you were out of here for a little bit. I need to start, I've been saying this forever. I'm going to start uploading videos. That's where the subscribers come from, is actual uploads, not from live streams. Wednesday, I think we're going to be on Wednesday at 6. I think it'll be me and Johnny. Wednesday at 12 at noon. We're going to be recording an interview. There's a girl named Stephanie. She has a YouTube channel, Steph's Rock Show. Steph spelled S-T-E-F. Yeah, Steph's Rock Show. She got like 7,000 subscribers, way bigger than me. She had Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses on her channel. And she's actually fairly local to me, but we're going to have her on, not live though, but Wednesday at 12, we're going to talk to her, and I'm going to record the video. I'm going to have to edit it, and I'll get that uploaded sometime soon. But I would imagine after we're done with that, we'll still be back on live at 6. I don't know. I got to ask him. If he's not around for that, I'll probably still get on Wednesday at 6 myself. I figured tonight would be a shorter one because we don't usually stream on Sundays. Yeah, that is the plan going forward. So the streams from here forward should be Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays, like I said, being more of the nerd topics. Like I said, we're going to be doing the Dragon Ball GT thing. Probably talk more about more video games, more wrestling. Wednesdays, we've been going heavy on music-related topics. Really pop culture stuff in general. Both shows will have any random assortment of pop culture-related topics, but that is kind of the separation between the two, is that Monday's going to have the Dragon Ball GT reviews, and like I said, probably more video game or anime related topics, more pro wrestling topics, whereas Wednesdays are usually, a lot of music. So what else have me and Johnny really talked about? Yeah, it's mostly been music stuff. I do need to fit some more stuff in there. There's just not been much else going on outside of like music stuff, I guess. With the Charlie Kirk thing that took up the whole bulk of last Wednesday stream a few days ago. That shit was crazy. I'm still curious to see what happens in the near future. But yeah, I guess that's about it. That's our future plans. Point of the stream, all summed up tonight. Yungblud is cringe. Yungblud is not. There is hope for rock music. You don't have to listen to Yungblud. That's like the main takeaway, I guess. Sabrina Carpenter is great. I just wish you would embrace, just embrace being a generic vanilla pop star. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, fucking it. I'm gonna get out of here. Everything. I need to think of a shorter. I'm probably just gonna start calling you Everything. That'll be my way of, because I have like a shortened name for everybody. Like Liberty Twitcher. I guess you can kind of say that kind of quick. Yeah. Yeah, I'll start shortening your name. Let's call you everything. That'll be my quick name for you. But all right, I'm going to hit the outro. I'm going to get out of here. If there is anybody here lingering in the shadows, thanks for stopping by. I will be back on tomorrow night with Protomax for the first time. So, right on, right on.
And we're all here today to groove and have a beautiful time together, and that it's only the beginning.